There is a beautiful, almost tragic innocence in the way Barney listens to his superiors. Look at him. He is currently receiving what is known as wisdom. He is being told that the secret to success is a firm handshake, a can-do attitude, and the willingness to start in the mailroom and work his way up. Barney is absorbing this information like a sponge, unaware that the sponge is dry. The bucket is empty, and the mailroom was outsourced to a fulfillment center in a different hemisphere. 15 years ago, we're here to discuss the temporal distortion field that exists between the person signing the paychecks and the person begging for a cost of living adjustment. We are talking about the obsolescence of advice. The fundamental problem is that your boss is giving you a walkthrough for a video game that has existed since 1987. They are playing some City on easy mode, while Barney has spawned into a Souls-like survival horror game where the currency is anxiety and the final boss is inflation. When your boss tells you how they made it, they aren't lying to you. They are simply describing a mythical era where a single income could purchase a 3-bedroom house, a car, and a college education, all while leaving enough left over for a mild drinking problem and a boat. Barney, meanwhile, has to choose between saving for retirement or buying name brand pasta. Let us dissect the anatomy of this intergenerational gaslighting. Through the 3 stages of useless guidance Barney receives on a weekly basis. The first stage is the myth of gumption. You know this one. It is the idea that showing up matters. Your boss believes that if you really want a job, you should put on your best suit. Walk into the headquarters, look the CEO in the eye, and demand an opportunity. In reality, if Barney tries to walk into a modern office without a QR code and an appointment, he isn't seen as ambitious. He is seen as a security threat. The hiring process is no longer human. It is an algorithmic ritual of humiliation. Barney doesn't need a handshake. He needs to optimize his resume keywords to bypass the applicant tracking system, an unfeeling digital gatekeeper designed to filter out anyone who has already done the job for 5 years at a different company. Gumption is now just a quirky way to get a restraining order. This leads us to the second stage of the deception, the trap of loyalty. The advice here is simple: stick with the company, put in the extra hours, and eventually, the organization will take care of you. This is a relic from a time when pensions existed and companies viewed employees as long-term investments rather than renewable batteries to be drained and discarded. Barney believes that by staying late and doing the work of 3 people, he is banking karma that can be redeemed for a promotion. Poor, sweet Barney. He doesn't realize that in the modern corporate ecosystem, the budget for retention is 0, while the budget for acquisition is bottomless. The only way to get a significant raise today is to leave. Loyalty is a tax on the fearful. While Barney waits for his 2% merit increase, which is technically a pay cut. Once you factor in the price of eggs, his boss is confused about why Barney is grateful for the opportunity to burn out. The boss sees the company as a family. Barney sees it as a hostage situation with occasional casual Fridays. The final stage is the delusion of fiscal discipline. This is where the advice becomes truly offensive. The boss, observing Barney's stress, suggests that perhaps if he stopped buying fancy coffees or streaming services, he could afford a down payment on a home. They do the math on a napkin, calculating that $5 a day saved is, well, it has still absolutely nothing compared to a housing market that appreciates faster than Barney can physically generate value. The math of the past does not apply to the physics of the present. To the boomer manager, a house is something you buy after a few years of saving. To Barney, a house is a mythical structure, like a castle in the sky or a printer that works on the first try. The disconnect creates a moral judgment. The boss views Barney's inability to accumulate wealth not as a systemic failure, but as a character flaw. They think Barney is poor because he lacks discipline. Barney is poor because the ladder was pulled up, set on fire, and the ashes were sold to a private equity firm. We must understand the psychology of the predator here. The boss is not necessarily evil, though the result is indistinguishable from malice. They are suffering from survivor bias. They look back at their own path walking into a factory in 1978, asking for a job and retiring with a pension, and they assume that this is the universal law of physics. They cannot comprehend that the water they swam in has boiled away. To admit that their advice is useless would be to admit that their success was partly due to being born at the right time in history, and the ego cannot survive that realization. So they double down. They tell Barney to dress for the job he wants. Ultimately, Barney, you are listening to a captain giving you navigation orders for a map that has been completely redrawn by late-stage capitalism. You cannot work your way up in a structure designed to keep you flat. You cannot save your way to wealth when the currency is debased. You are playing a game where the rules change every quarter to ensure the house always wins. The only useful career advice for the modern era is to realize that the cavalry isn't coming. The pact is broken. Nod at the advice, smile at the anecdotes about the good old days, and then go back to your desk and update your resume, because the only thing that trickles down in this economy is stress. Subscribe to the channel before your boss notices you've disassociated and asks you to hop on a quick call to discuss your 5-year plan. You don't have a 5-year plan, Barney. You have a 5-minute plan, and it involves not screaming.